Hi, my name's Alicia Shai, formerly Alicia Nunez. That's what it still says on Canvas. As you observe my formal observation video leading the professional development on accountable talks at Vivian Field Middle School, you are going to notice that my counterpart, Miss Wheatley, will also be in the video and have a couple opportunities to speak to the staff. As she is new to Field Middle School this year and has not had any opportunities to present to the staff. So she will be working alongside me. The primary research and identification of accountable talks and the need for it has been an ongoing pursuit since last year when Dr. Ramos came in January. We have used mainly qualitative data and also some quantitative in terms of t-test observations and scores, but really the qualitative data in working with our department managers, our staff, our administrators, and our district personnel to identify the area of need of student talk and engagement throughout our campus. We've also analyzed some quantitative data through TELPAS and seeing the correlation of the scores and how students who can talk can also then write more effectively, and it would increase our TELPAS scores as well. So our focus is going to be accountable talks throughout this school year. That is our main lever we'll be pulling through professional development. And so that has been an ongoing creation and plan in terms of how we're going to assess our students. So this has been my main focus since last January and throughout the beginning of this school year. In terms of what principal standards it targets, there's quite a few standards that it targets. You are going to see Standard 1, School Culture. We are going to target Element 10, establishes and communicates consistent expectations for staff and students, providing supportive feedback to ensure a positive campus environment. We are going to set some expectations for staff. Towards the back of the video, you'll also see me work with one of my 6 teams. I worked with each team, but I recorded my 7th grade team this time, where we identify 2 accountable talk sentence stems for them to address for the upcoming 2 weeks, and we will slowly add on to that list for our students to master. The Element 11 implements effective strategies to systemically gather input from all campus stakeholders, supportive, innovative thinking, and an inclusive culture. We worked, as I mentioned prior, with our department managers, our teachers who wanted to provide input, our admin, our district personnel, our counselor personnel, and just overall observations of our students on campus. 12 creates an atmosphere of safety that encourages the social, emotional, and physical well-being of staff and students. During the professional development, you are going to notice that we identify the need for all students to feel safe and be able to communicate their thoughts in a professional and eloquent manner. And so that's going to be a focus that we're working on with them. Ensures that parents and other members of the community are an integral part of the campus culture. And we will be sharing out with our parents these accountable talk moves, so they are also aware of the standard that the students are going to be held to when they are speaking in a classroom and professional environment. Standard 2, leading learning. As the principal, we are going to be focusing on many of these elements. Element 1, creating campus culture, set high expectations and promotes learning. Like I mentioned, it is going to be a campus-wide, not just core content, but even our elective teachers have been provided the training and will also be implementing these accountable talks in their classroom. Element 2, prioritizes instruction and student achievement by understanding, sharing, and promoting a clear definition of high-quality instruction based on best practices from recent research. So throughout the professional development, we also modeled how Accountable Talks works, how we walked around, provided feedback to the teachers as if they were our students. And we will be also working with our underperforming teachers to model and implement this in their classroom. Element 3, routinely monitors and improves instruction by visiting classrooms. I just mentioned that one. So we have already been observing teachers and providing some feedback. A lot of it has been teacher-centered that we've observed so far this year. So this is our big push, and we will be continuing to identify areas of concern or needs to provide constructive feedback to ensure a Tier 1 instruction is always being implemented in the classroom. Element 4 facilitates the use of sound research-based practices in the development and implementation of campus curricula, co-curricula, and extracurricular programs to fulfill academic, developmental, social, and cultural needs. Accountable Talks is a foundational research component that has been identified as one of best practices for instructional strategies. It is not something that has been just identified, new, reinvented. We're going back to the basics here. Students need to be talking. The one who's doing the talking is doing the learning, and so we are going to really focus on that. Element 5 facilitates campus participation in a collaborative school district planning, implementation, monitoring, curriculum revision to ensure appropriate scope, sequence, content, and alignment. You're going to see this component towards the end when I am working with my team individually to identify 2 targeted accountable talk stems for each area and where they could easily introduce them to their students so they have a very clear understanding and they can tie it directly into the curriculum and content they've been implementing and using in class. Element 10, monitor ensures staff uses multiple forms of student data to inform instruction, intervention, decisions to maximize instructional effectiveness and student achievement. So throughout our data digs, we'll also be talking about the students leveraging their accountable talks. Where can we use this when we spiral back our reteach questions? Those types of ways that we can encourage student collaboration and communication through these sentence stems. Ensures the effective instruction maximizes growth of individual students and student groups, supports equity and eliminates the achievement gap. That's going to be element 9. So this is going to help promote student achievement across all of our ethnic backgrounds, no matter where their demographic history comes, and we're holding all students to the same standards. So in that last portion of the video, when I work with my teachers, you'll also see that we have some newcomers, level 1s, EBs who are going to need a little bit of differentiation. And so we do have the accountable talks translated as well. And so we will work with them on building their comfort and ability to use those sentence stems and slowly remove the crutch of the native language and allow them to fully engulf in and engage in our conversation in English in the academic setting. Standard 3, human capital, we are going to address 4 here. So I'm going to talk about all 4 and then summarize. Element 1, invest and manages time to prioritize development, support and supervision of the staff, and enhance student outcomes. 2, ensures all staff have clear expectations that guide them and by which they are assessed, including the use of the familiarity with evidence-based appropriate rubrics. 5, facilitate the campus professional learning community to review data, processes, and policies in order to improve teaching and learning in the school. And 7, collaboratively develops, implements, and revises a comprehensive and ongoing plan of professional development of campus so that it addresses staff's needs based on staff appraisal trends, goals, and student information. So 7 is really where we identified the need last year. We reevaluated it in the beginning of the school year to ensure it's still where we needed. We had a large turnover. It was what we still needed to focus on. And again, it's just good practice. And then we really focused on 1, 2, and 5 throughout the remainder of this first 9 weeks. So we actually designed, created, and prepped all of the teacher manipulatives. So the teachers had no manipulatives to create, cut, assemble. They received all of their items ready to go. So after the training, they can hit the ground running on Monday morning, which is exactly what we'll be doing. We'll be introducing it school-wide through the advisory lesson, doing some fun accountable talks, and then our content teachers, electives, and fine arts will all be able to implement it with their curricula moving forward. In terms of the PLC communities, as we are assisting our PLCs, we'll be probing them, asking where is the accountable talk or moves going to happen this week? Where can we easily throw them in? A lot of times turn-in talks are already embedded within our teachers. So let's take another moment and address it here. Standard 4, our executive leadership is going to be engaging in ongoing and meaningful professional growth activities to further develop knowledge and skills to model a lifelong learner. and uses strong communication skills, understands how to communicate a message in different ways to meet the needs of various audiences, and develops implement strategies for effective internal and external communications. 6, demonstrates awareness of social, emotional, and economical issues that exist within the school and community that could impact the campus operations and student learning. And then 7, gathers and organizes information from a variety of sources for use in creative and effective campus decision making. The main 2 out of the 4 here that we're really focusing on is ongoing meaningful and professional growth activities to further develop the knowledge and skills. So moving forward, we'll have additional mini professional developments where our master teachers are actually come in and discuss how they've implemented accountable talks, how it's been effective for them, their students, and allow a little bit more teacher buy-in for teachers who maybe are a little bit more resistant in pushing through with this very large lever we're pulling. The one that's very straightforward is the use of strong communication skills and understanding how communicating a message in different ways to meet the needs of various audiences. Throughout the professional development, you will see myself speak majority of the time. Ms. Wheatley did introduce our learning objective and goal. I went over the bones of the professional development and what that looks like, the major steps and levers that we do have to pull. You will also see a physical sheet on the tables where the teachers will be working through their own sentence stems and having a conversation to discuss some fun little questions to really get use and familiarity with these sentence stems. And then we are going to kind of end on the teachers addressing ways they can implement those within their class very easily to promote a good awareness. And then our last 2 standards are going to be standard 5, strategic operations. We're going to hit 4 major focuses here. So assesses current campus needs, reviewing a wide set of evidence to determine the campus priorities and sets ambitions and measurable school goals. So as I said, this is one of our major school goals, even in our CIP, where we are going to implement accountable talks and work on getting our students to speak. It will and should directly also tie into our TELPAS scores, which we will do an extension on later, where the students use accountable talks, but then record themselves speaking, which will tie into that lever as well. Standard 5, element 3, allocates resources effectively, staff time, dollars, tools. So this is what I mentioned earlier. It also kind of hits on some of the areas of just teacher retention, right? So we purchased all of the materials. So they all have rings, they have bags to organize their cards. All the cards were laminated, cut, hole punched, and assembled for them to value their time and also their own pocket, right? We don't want them to spend money, but we do have funds available that we were able to purchase all of these. So across the board, every teacher is starting at the same playing field and all students have the same experience in each classroom. Element 6 is to implement strategies that enable the physical plant, equipment, and support systems to operate safely, effectively, and maintain a conductive learning environment. So this is what we are really focusing on here, that conducive, conductive learning environment. Do they have what they need to facilitate this professional development throughout the year? And 8, collaboratively plans and effectively manages the campus budget. So I work directly with our secretary for our principal, Ms. Gonzalez, and we sat down, we looked over prices, how many we needed per teacher for full class sets. They're not going to just have one per table. Every student for our largest classes will have their own set when they walk into that classroom. And so this is really important to have tangible items in hand. So rather than looking up at a poster, they have the card set and they can flip through them. Our last standard 6 is going to focus on quite a few as well. So we have element 2, 4, 5, 8, 9, and 10. And this is really just stating that we did this as a school-wide professional development. All staff, whether your content, fine arts, or electives, are being held to the same standard. This is a major focus for our administrators as they conduct their walkthroughs. And all staff is now aware of the expectation. And we are also working with our teachers who do not have a traditional classroom. So our fine arts like band, who don't necessarily always speak, but they are playing, right? They're learning through music. So how are we going to differentiate this for them? And so we are going to have some measurable tools for them to use when their students are providing feedback to each other. And really, are we hearing those instrumental plays to really pull out the best from our students? So throughout this professional development, as I mentioned in the very beginning, you will see myself and my counterpart, Miss Wheatley, going through the presentation. She is mainly assisting me for some assistance in getting visibility with our staff, since this is the first PD she's been a part of. The last few PDs I have led since I am the returning dean, and I have done all of the, or majority of the legwork behind the scenes for these. So we wanted to give her some face time and make sure she started to build her just FaceTime, and the teachers get to know her as a dean as well versus just her two core departments. And then as you are observing this session, you're really going to see me walking around the room, connecting with different staff members, presenting in a clear and concise way, providing additional information to connect it to what they're already doing in class. As well as providing them live feedback. So when they are using these cards during their discussion, if they do kind of deviate away from the stems, bringing them back on, and then also using that as a feedback tool to remind teachers, this will happen with your students too. They're going to get really engaged with these conversations and they might deviate away. We want to bring their attention back to the sentence stems and give them really clear practice. At the end of it, you'll see me add in the second component of my PD, which is what I held with each one of my team members. So 6th through 8th grade math, 6th through 8th grade science, where we identified 2 per category and then identified the area of which they were going to implement within this week, and made sure they felt comfortable and talked about how they can differentiate. So that is what I did all day yesterday to make sure that each one of my team members was very comfortable in implementing this into their classroom and ready to go on Monday. So thank you, and I hope you enjoy.
Just doing the Galaxy. They have to do the progress report, right? The progress learning, right?
Yes. They could do the study plan as well. There'll be alternative assignments coming out.
Yeah, because they're like, oh no, it's just
all right, today's PD
like, oh no.
is on accountable talk. Today's PD is on accountable talk. So just by a show of hands, how many of you are already using some sort of accountable talk in your classroom? Okay, good. All right, in your tables, use the stickers provided to number yourselves in order from 1 through 6. 1 through 6. And I'll give you a few minutes to get that done. If you don't have 6, it's fine. Just number yourselves in order, please. And put the sticker on your shirt. numbers right now. Just make sure they are on your shirt, but you will need them later in the presentation. All right, we're gonna frame the PD for today. I know some of you have been trained on the "we will, I will" statement. Some of you have not, but it's coming, okay? So our learning objective, we will incorporate accountable talk in our classrooms daily here at Field. And then the closing product, the demonstration of learning, is our I will discuss with my team at least 2 ways to implement accountable talk in our upcoming lesson. Our goals for today: 1, understand what accountable talk is. 2, explore why it matters. And then 3, learn practical strategies to implement in our classroom. So now let's talk. You're gonna get your phone or your computer because we are going to join a Slido. All right, this is the QR code. Let's go ahead and scan the QR code. Or you can join at slido.com, and then the code is 3584850.
Go to slido.com and then you'll enter that number.
I'm sorry, there it is again. The number is 3, right there. You see it? 3584850. And go ahead and answer that question once you get in. What is accountable talk? Seventeen participants. All right, I'm just gonna read a few as they're popping up. What is accountable talk? Y'all going fast. All right, accountable talk is a framework for students to help answer questions, aids in students' use of academic language while in discussion, talking to others about vocabulary. So when you have a discussion that questions or agrees, I lost it. What to say instead of IDK. Accountable talk is where your voice matters. I have no clue. Extending critical thinking in students. Efficient talk. Talk that keeps you accountable for your learning. All of those are correct. We have 2 more participants typing, and then we're gonna move on. said, if you want them to hear it, you talk. If you want them to learn it, they talk. So this goes back to the saying that Dr. Ramos always says, the person who does the talking is the person who's doing the learning. So we want to make sure that we are engaging our students in conversation and having them talk with their peers in complete sentences. All right, Accountable Talk is a research-based framework that equips students with skills for meaningful academic conversations, making them accountable to accurate knowledge, rigorous reasoning, and their learning community. It involves students listening to and building on others' ideas, using evidence to support claims, explaining their thinking, and engaging in constructive disagreement to promote deeper understanding and critical thinking. So all of what you guys said in the Slido. So good job. So why emphasize Accountable Talk in our classrooms here at Fields? This is about a 4-minute video, and you'll see a teacher. She's incorporated Accountable Talk in her middle school classroom.
These are the keys to participating in a conversation fully.
Sometimes we all need a little bit of a kickstarter to feel like we can contribute. Children are going to struggle a bit, depending on how confident they feel in speaking up in class. And yet this teacher wants everybody in the class to feel valued. So the kids are all learning phrases that can inspire other kids to contribute more easily.
We're trying to build a conversation here that is a community of caring and respect. So look at your talk moves on the table today, and I have a post-it note here for you.
Talk moves are essentially sentence starters that students can use to get themselves into the conversation and to draw other people into the conversation. I taped the talk moves right on the table so that they would be ever present in everyone's mind.
Today, I want you to keep track of your talk moves.
Every time they used a talk move, they put a check on their sticky note.
So if somebody at your table looks like they don't have a talk move check mark yet, invite them into the conversation. How could you do that?
Say like, what do you think?
Definitely. Would you use their name?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Everything about activating a child's cognitive skills begins with activating their social connectedness. Verbalizing and using language and working with peers creates that kind of social stimulus that drives the development of the brain.
I pretty much look at the thing every single time to see if there's like something I can say, like a clarifying question. Can you explain more about like why you would get in trouble?
He spray-painted something on the rival soccer team's school, and like when you ask a person a clarifying question, it's either, oh, I heard you said, or can you repeat what you said, or to add on to.
They help enormously with language learners. They give everybody a platform to jump into a conversation because half the sentence is there for them already. But they also challenge other types of learners who may be accustomed to doing independent work and they need a bridge to collaborate more with a group. It pushes kids out of their comfort zone of social conversations and it moves them more towards a professional and an academic kind of register.
All his accomplishments in his past, like all the other marches he had, like Martin Luther King, his other previous marches, and he wants to this next march.
I heard you say previous marches, like does it say anything about like?
Yeah, like he was in Martin Luther King marches.
I do talk moves because in order to have a great discussion, everyone has to feel like they're part of it and valued. And when they walk away, they really have bridged a gap with someone that maybe they wouldn't have necessarily talked to or talked to on that level. This teacher is aware of children having different levels of comfort and discomfort, of making their skills visible, and she's getting kids to support each other's participation
with these talk groups. This teacher created a pathway for every single child in this class to belong.
All right, so there are many different ways in which we can incorporate accountable talk in our classroom. Can we have at least 3 people to share something they heard or saw that this teacher was doing in her classroom? At least 3 people for privacy. I'll bring the microphone to you.
I like the fact she was having them check off, like how many times they used it, just to see like those that were not participating to invite them in.
All right, holding each other accountable.
I like how she, excuse me, how she had the accountable talk little card on the table. Sometimes we have strategies that we use and we forget about them, but there's a reminder that we're more apt to use them.
I like that. And so the accountable talk that we'll have here will actually be on cards. They'll be on rings. So if you want your students to get up and move around, they'll have them accessible in their hand. And then they're at the table. One more person, please.
And what we really want is for our students to build their skill. So that's what we hope that everyone would find more an improvement in that area.
Thank you so much, and then there's a prize here. Thank you.
Thank you guys for participating. We're gonna move right along. All right, and then Ms. Shy will talk about how we're gonna structure accountable talk in our classroom.
Right, so we're going to focus on the 5 major components to have successful accountable talks. We'll go through each one on a slide and talk about it a little bit, and then we're going to have some practice time today to actually get a vibe and feel what that looks like. So the first one we're going to talk about is communication expectations. So communication expectations is going to promote respectful dialogue. What you're going to want to do is really set those expectations with your students. So whether you decide to use that post-it check box kind of thing, or you want to use a physical manipulative where they rotate when they're speaking, you want to set that expectation and what that looks like in your class. You also want to make sure that all students have an equitable participation, so everybody is involved, and that they all feel that comfort. So knowing that it's okay if we're not quite sure, but that's why we can ask our group to elaborate, we can explain, verify, etc. Our second component, go back. You are going to get a communication expectations card, which will be the first card on your ring set. So this will be just foundational expectations your students should follow when they're holding accountable talks. So adding meaningful conversations, active listening, the things that we as professionals do with each other that our students sometimes don't always do, and they have to learn these skills that are necessary to be successful in the real world. Sentence stems. If you were here last year, we did a PD on sentence stems and the benefit it has on our EB students and all of our students in general. This is one way that we always have sentence stems at our students' fingertips. So it's going to promote academic language. It's going to boost their confidence, because now, if they're not exactly sure what to say, they have a place to go to start. So we want to make sure that they know how to use them, and they have a little bit of a confidence on how to manipulate those parts. These are the cards that you're going to be getting. We'll talk more about them, but you can see that each one's going to have various sentence stems. So we already talked about the communication expectations. You're also going to get one for agreeing, disagreeing or challenging, clarifying, elaborating, and evidence and connection. So no matter what the discussion is happening in your classroom, they're gonna have a way to positively contribute to that discussion. And in a minute, you're gonna see a fun little way that we can use these with any question, any probe, to get used to them. Speaking strategies. Sometimes a new instructional strategy can be a little overwhelming, right? So there's 4 ways that you can easily implement them in class. Right now, most of you already do a turn and talk. So the easiest way would be to start there. Turn and talk to your partner. Partner A gives their answer. Partner B, use your ring sort, your card sort, to elaborate, clarify, agree, provide additional context to that discussion. So something you already naturally do, you can build upon. Think, pair, share is another one. And the one that's a little bit newer that you may not have as much familiarity with is numbered voices. So we are actually going to demonstrate that one in just a minute whenever we practice this together, so you can see what that looks like in your classroom. And then Socratic seminar and protocol, that's going to be an upper level one. So I would definitely start on the other 3 and kind of build your comfort as well as your students' comfort. But this would be a great way to extend that thinking, especially with our honors courses. So definitely start to think through how we can incorporate that with honors versus on level. Teach a model. Yes, it is going to be very robotic at first. As the teacher, you are also going to have to model it. So when Billy answers a question in class, if you agree with him, Billy, I agree with you. Can you please elaborate on how you got that? Modeling what you want the students to say. Or, I know math, they talk about misconceptions a lot. So, I think you might have a misconception. Who can help me pinpoint where Billy went wrong? Right? So, using those actively in class as the teacher is going to allow the students to see that it can happen very naturally. For us, it might still be a little robotic. You might want to have your card sort at your top standing desk, maybe on your loop, your neck, whatever you need at first. But we want to make sure that we are really thinking through how we can add to our conversations naturally in the classroom with those sentence ends that we are expecting our students to use as well.
Alright, so this is the numbered voices strategy that we're going to demonstrate. So you will now use the numbers that's on your shirt, and you can use this exact strategy or game with your students. We'll share the slides with you so you can have it. So we'll practice the numbered voices strategies while having silly debates with our table partners. Directions. Person number 1 will answer and elaborate on the question that will appear on the screen. And then person 2, and so on, must respond by using one of the sentence stems. Continue the debate until each person has been given at least one time to speak. Y'all ready? All right. Person number 1, raise your hand. You are going to answer the question that's on the board. And then question 2, get ready, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, however many you have. Okay? All right. Is cereal egg soup? Ready? Go. another one. Do dogs have 4 legs or 2 arms and 2 legs? Ready? Go. All right, time's up. This is the very last one. Please make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak. Is a hot dog a taco? Ready? Go. About 15 seconds. All right, time is up. Time is up. Just by a show of hands, how many of you think that your students may like something like this to start off? Yes? All right. Feedback and celebration.
So also some quick feedback from y'all. I'm gonna do this 2 ways. We had somebody ask, can we do this through advisory as a mini lesson to get them started? That's a great idea. So I'm gonna take it back to the admin team and see when we can push it out to y'all sooner rather than later. So everybody's getting started with these funny little debates and getting kind of used to the academic language and stuff. But you can still take it through your class as well and implement it, but we will push it out through an advisory with a mini lesson as well. So be on the lookout for that, okay? But feedback and celebrations, you probably heard either myself or Ms. Wheatley coming around and going, oh, I like how you added that, or I really like the discussion happening here. While it's happening, you want to make sure you're monitoring, listening. If they're not, I had a couple tables kind of getting off on their own tangent, going, hey, let's bring it back to those sentences. Oh, okay, I agree with you because, and in the beginning, we're definitely gonna have to do those little reminders, but I really enjoyed specifically the dog one with the arms and legs. I had some somebody respectfully disagreed because they started going into like the bone structure. And I was like, yes, I love it. So it's nice when you start to hear students teach other students, kind of like an extension, right? We didn't really talk about bone structure in them, but it went there to that next level. So that was really great. So make sure you're highlighting achievements as well as providing their attention back on the task of those sentence stems as you're going through that process. Okay, so wonderful news. You're all going to receive a class set of the Accountable Talk cards. You'll have a ring for your students. You'll have 2 really cool baggies. They're like kind of plasticky so they don't tear. So hold them in. And you're going to get this tomorrow during your PD or conference period. And so we'll work with you on that. But you will get a class set. Your class set should be for your largest class, obviously, so we will talk with you. And then some of our fine arts teachers will talk with you to kind of create a plan. If the rings aren't ideal, we'll talk about another option we have as well, okay?
And if you only have a conference period, please come to the PLC room during your conference period on tomorrow.
Yes, if you do not have a PLC, come stop by in your conference or shoot us an email and we can try to get them.
And then the last slide, with your team, discuss at least 2 ways in which you can implement Accountable Talk in your classroom.
So think about next week or the week after their lessons. What are some quick ways you would like to start to throw this into your lessons and get the kids using? The quickest thing I want to point out, I would start with picking maybe 1 or 2 from each category and getting them used to those and slowly building their comfort. If you throw this whole paper at them at first or the card sorts without identifying, it can be overwhelming. So if you write them on the board, these are the 2 for agree we're going to focus on for the next 2 weeks. These are the 2 for disagree, and slowly build up their comfort. So 2 minutes, Ms. Wheatley, for the reflection. Okay. So 2 minutes for you to talk with your group. This time start with the largest number and rotate around. Identify at least 2 ways you plan to implement accountable talks with your students in the next week.
All right, that is time. Thank you guys for talking with your group. Dr. Ramos.
Thank you guys for meeting with me again today. Today we are going to pick up kind of where we left off yesterday on the Accountable Talks professional development. As you see, your baggies, I've already filled them for you. So you have class sets of rings, and then you have your 5 Accountable Talk cards. The order, I did lay them in order from first to last. So white would be first, then blue, pink, green, yellow.
Yep. Got it.
And then what we really want to focus on are 2 parts. So yesterday we talked about identifying at least 2 components from each card to target for a 2 to 3 week cycle to slowly build up our students' comfortability and just use of those talking skills. And then each 2 to 3 weeks we'll add to that list. So the white card is just the communication expectations. This is something that we will go over as a whole in general with our students. On Monday's advisory, we actually have this activity, so we'll do this across the entire school wide. With our small groups too? Yes, ma'am. So we'll do that. You don't spend the entire small group, but you can do an intro and then do it with a math problem if you would like. So you can still kind of spice it up there. But these communication expectations would be something that maybe y'all cold call, have students each read one kind of thing, set the tone, whatever you feel is most beneficial for them there. But if we look at agree, we want to identify 2 for 7th grade math.
Okay.
So thinking about your students, how they talk and or don't talk in class, right? What would be 2 areas that we want to focus on here so we can kind of look over them?
First bullet
Yeah,
point,
the first
for sure.
one.
I agree with
Yeah.
blank because, and then they'll give their explanation.
I like that answer makes sense because as well.
So the first bullet point, the 4th bullet point.
The first and 4th.
Especially since this will be the first time that we're like introducing this kind of formally with the kids, right? If we're giving them like I think they're a little bit easier, and also I guess my bias is going to be focusing on like talking as it relates to math. And what I really want them is the because part, or like this makes sense because part, and how they're explaining that. And I probably care a little bit more about that as opposed to like, I agree with what Samantha said.
I also think that it's something that they'll probably feel more comfortable saying.
More student friendly.
Yeah.
And a little bit more aligned probably to what we've been asking them anyways, like in terms
Naturally
of what we're
already.
probably,
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So agree, we will identify those 2, and I will follow up with an email to just kind of like pull it so you can easily just copy paste and put it into your slides, so when you're doing your questions they have a quick view as well. I did throw a math one in there for y'all on here. I think you could spot it fairly quickly.
The misconception.
Yes, the last one. I think you have a misconception because. So when we were kind of editing these through, knowing the work y'all have done about misconceptions and addressing those, we did add that in. So do you want to keep that as an easy one since that's already part of your language?
Yeah. And part of what we were thinking yesterday too is that, like, what is error analysis? Like, if we put something and there's a mistake somewhere, then it doesn't even have to be a misconception like that a student has, but like the work that's on the board. But I think that's a good one too.
Perfect.
The second bullet point, we just have to get them to say the word respectful. Because they already say, well, I disagree, you know, but we can teach them to be a little bit more politically correct by saying I respect. Yeah. So the second and the last one, for sure.
Yeah, we could circle the word respectfully as like a reminder. Like, you want to be respectful, guys. Perfect. The green card, clarify and elaborate.
What other strategies I like?
What I'd like for them to be able to do on this one is the very last bullet point, because if they say they disagree with someone, then this is what they can say. Is I have a different idea
about how to start this question or about how to simplify.
So, yeah, so this kind of ties back into, even if they disagree and they explain it then, but this would be a little bit more specific.
So I heard some whispers. We weren't as loud about these ones. I believe, can you, or what other strategies did you use? And I have a different idea about.
Yes.
Are we on the same page for both of those?
Yes.
I think so. Okay. And then for evidence and connections.
The noticing I do like, because that's what we ask
I
them to
noticed
do for like underlining keywords and things like that. So we ask them to do that already so frequently. All they would really have to do is like say that and then answer what they're
I noticed in the table we were
exactly
increasing by 3.
And I think you're saying part of it is the speaking in whole sentences, which they are not doing right now.
Right.
But this would be an easy way to get them
Give them
there.
that sentence stem and get them there quickly.
Maybe the one example could be one. I'm trying to think of something that they would be comfortable saying, because so we're wanting them to speak in complete sentences.
I wonder if we could do something with like the according to, and then tying back to something that they noticed, right? So like it might not necessarily be table graph text
But
exactly, but something from the question. So according to, depending on the question, right? On the diagram, or sometimes it will be a table or a graph. We should do this, or right? So I think the ... right?
And I think that's a good point, especially with math. Like even in when y'all do tables, right?
Yeah.
You do horizontal,
Yeah.
vertical tables.
Yeah.
If it's a diagram, maybe even have them write, or you guys can write diagram next. If the ... is, you could have other options.
Right.
But if you put diagram, they might feel more comfortable using that.
And our next
So-
unit is similar figures, which will have lots of diagrams
definitely.
anyway. So I think that'll be a good one to
Easily implement. Okay. So we would just want to physically, even in pen, write diagram next to it.
for detention on Monday.
Make sure it's neat, girl. Make sure it's neat. Okay, perfect. And I heard you talking about some ways to already incorporate them. So I heard with the disagree challenge, yesterday y'all guys were already identifying, like showing a misconception, an error in a problem, and having them analyze. What other ways are we thinking about trying to implement these in the upcoming week or two? So next week we're going to kind of introduce, right? We can start slow. What are some intentional ways we would like, or we would feel the most comfortable with starting this in a math class?
I wonder if some of our do nows, if we wanted to spiral some of the probability questions they got wrong from the test or something like that, and we could put work that either they got wrong or it's good, or how they're getting it started or something.
Something that they're familiar with, which would make it more easy for them to even just start the conversation.
Like, I notice there are 40 red marbles.
Yeah, and then have them do it starting off in their table groups, and then you can expand it to more whole group stuff, but just to get them comfortable talking within their own table groups to do this, and they'll have this at the table with them.
Right.
So that'll be good.
Perfect. Yeah, I definitely agree. Starting with something they know would be the simplest way to start to ease them into the mathematical concept, right? So the school-wide advisory lesson with the fun questions will get them kind of in the motion of talking with these. With that, consider using the number items we did yesterday, because then you could say the person with the highest number, it will start first.
I heard similar, it's like with the hair length or
Yep.
different,
Anything randomization, we do
Yeah.
BTC, so anything with randomization that you want to do, the person wearing the darkest colored shirt or the youngest one at the table goes, like,
Yeah.
that would be great to have them
Yep.
start.
What do you recommend for, especially our small groups have a lot of Spanish speakers? Is the priority speaking English, even if it's very simple math, or they can say these in Spanish to make and like push more complex math concepts?
The priority right now is getting them to speak in English because the test is gonna be English.
Okay.
Now, with the understanding that if you have a newcomer, because in 7th grade y'all do have newcomers in level 1s, it might be broken. And
Or
they
like
may
these
not
words
be, right, it might say like,
are
I
English.
agree, and then some Spanish, and then some, and that's flexibility. But the goal would be at the end of the year, right, we're slowly, that hopefully we would be building up their literacy skills and linguistics, and they'd be better. We did not give y'all Spanish ones on the back. If you have a handful of newcomers, I do have English Spanish ones, but those would only go out to your newcomers.
So not even the ESL 1 or 2.
And ones, you don't want.
Okay.
We were told not twos and up right now.
Okay.
Because the goal is we need to keep them pushing into the others.
Yeah.
And you would also have to be mindful of how you're starting to pull them away. So maybe at first you let them use the Spanish, English, and work with a partner, and then the next week they have to do broken English kind of thing, and then or not next week, maybe the next month, right?
Yeah.
And we slowly remove them to just the English cards. Scaffolding for your newcomers, level 1s, some level 2s, but we got to be careful because then we're giving a lot, and they're not going to get any language support like that on the test. Like all their language support on the test is still English. So we really want to push them to get moving.
One of the things we did last year leading up to TELPAS was we videotaped them. At least they videotaped themselves, and they and they uploaded it into Class Kick or whatever.
With the sentence stems, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we could still start that early. You know.
Yeah. And we actually will have somebody from the language department coming down, and we're gonna do some walkthroughs. We're gonna pull back the idea of sentence stems like we did last year, right? To help support TELPAS, but this being your focus. So that would be a very easy activity you guys could do.
I mean, these also are
correct. Yeah.
Yes.
But if there's like math specific ones where you want to guide their thinking a little bit more, you can create your own if it's more math specific for an activity, right? So, but I definitely 100% agree. Like getting them to speak, record, talk loud enough, all those things. It's not going to be our official, like this is our one big push for the year, but we will bring up strategies that would be beneficial for our students at the end of the day. That's what we want to focus on.
And that'll be good practice for the small groups especially.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure they're very...
Definitely.
Yeah. I would be too, shoot. I would not want to do that in front of, with anybody around.
Well, I can already see in a couple of my small groups where I've got some who they prefer to speak in Spanish. And sometimes when we're doing stuff, I say, well, just say it in Spanish and we'll translate it. But now this will just give them a little bit more incentive to, hey, say it, try and do it, say it in English as well. So we'll do that.
How many translated cards are you thinking? 5? 5 each?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get those to you here in just a minute. That way you guys can have them again. Please keep them separate, and you only give them to the children that require it. Just so we're good. Okay, sounds good. Perfect. Well, I will be touching base with you all next week as we dive deeper into this unit's data, and then incorporate this into our spiral reteach plan.
Sounds good.
Thank you guys.
Are you gonna edit this in so I can?